It's all eyes on the highest court in the land this week. Yesterday, it cracked its whip against former President Jacob Zuma. Tomorrow, it turns its attention to President Cyril Ramaphosa. The Constitutional Court will announce if it believes the president misled Parliament in relation to donations made to the CR17 campaign. Judgment is expected to be passed at 10 a.m. Let's discuss this with legal journalist at News 24, Karen Mon. Karen, thanks for your time on the lead this afternoon. So another important judgment expected from the Constitutional Court tomorrow, this time about President Cyril Ramaphosa and the CR17 campaign. The public protector approached the court, just to give context, appealing a lower court's ruling which set aside her report. Remind us what was argued in court.
Well, essentially, this case is so pivotal because it goes beyond the question of whether Cyril Ramaphosa misled Parliament when he stated that a 500,000 rand donation that his election campaign for the ANC had received from now deceased Bosasa boss Gavin Watson was in fact a payment to his son. It goes into his obligation under the Executive Ethics Code to disclose the identities of his donors of that campaign to Parliament. Now, remember the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria saying that under the Executive Ethics Code there was no such obligation, and it was not lawful for Busisiwe Mkhwebane to demand that Parliament require the President to disclose the identities of those donors. The court also finding that Advocate Mkhwebane's suspicion that there may be some form of money laundering involved in the election campaign finances was not only incorrect in law and fact, but also reckless. But pivotally, this, as you and I well, and I think the general public know, this has been one of the most politically contentious issues that the president has faced over his tenure in office. And I think the fact that it has taken since November last year for the court to reach a determination on this matter, I mean, it's an incredible length of time in a court which is normally supposed to give judgments within 3 months. There's already a strong indication, Clement, that there may well be some strong dissenting judgments on this matter, and there may be a lot of split voices coming from the court on this particular issue.
Yeah, so from where I'm standing, then we've got two probably crucial questions that the court will be answering tomorrow. Did the president mislead Parliament in relation to the donations that were made to his CR17 campaign? But also crucially so, did the public protector have the scope to investigate the CR17 campaign? Because as part of her report, she had found and instructed other institutions of the state to do certain things, like the NPA and even Parliament. Am I correct to say that's another question that the Constitutional Court will have to answer?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a very, multi-pronged report. It had a lot of, the head of the NPA, Shamila Batoy, coming out and saying it was, basically problematic and unlawful for Busisiwe Mkhwebane to turn around to the state and say, look, there's prima facie evidence of money laundering here and you are required to investigate it. And the court ultimately agreeing that, that very much crossed the line in terms of separation of powers. Just, both factually, the court said there was no evidence of money laundering, but also, this pronouncement that the NPA then needed to investigate it overstepped the line. We also know that the Speaker of Parliament, Thandi Modise, is saying that, requiring Parliament to force Ramaphosa to disclose the identities of donors when, it was very much Parliament's position based on a previous matter involving Mmusi Maimane, who was then the DA leader, that there was no legal basis to do so, was profoundly problematic and unlawful. And we know that, of course, Mkhwebane using, Modise's involvement in this case to argue that she's biased against her and should not be in any way involved in the current impeachment process inquiry that's being launched against the public protector. So there's a wide web of kind of, players in this drama. But the biggest issue, of course, which the EFF is currently fighting in the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria, is over this disclosure of the donors' identities and whether or not they constituted, a benefit in the sense to Ramaphosa that he should and was obligated under the Executive Ethics Code to disclose to Parliament. The court said no, this, was private funding. The public protector was not, she's empowered to investigate government issues, malfeasance when it comes to state expenditure. Of course, her lawyers arguing, well, this is the president of the country. And she's contending that this exposes Ramaphosa to the risk of so-called state capture, she put it, because if he's receiving these massive donations, something like 200 million rand was the figure that I remember being bandied about, then, there's a potential for conflict from him because, the donors that had made the money, given the donations, may feel that he may be beholden to them. And I mean, that's one of the issues that the court is grappling with in this matter. This is a case that beyond these legal questions, which I think are important. I think it is important that we have certainty over the funding of of people who are vying for powerful positions in political parties. But at the same in the same way, the question is, does the law as it currently stands allow for this kind of level of disclosure? And if it doesn't, what will the court say in regard to that?
All right, 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's the time that we'll hear the Constitutional Court make a ruling on this matter. Karen Mond, thank you so much for your time. And Karen also making a point of clarity there that this particular case is separate to the one that is currently being heard. In fact, it was heard in the High Court, but judgment was reserved around unsealing of the CR17 records.